Hi, this is Michael Moore, reporting for TechWeekEurope at InfoSec 2015. I'm joined by Leonard, who's the Principal Security Analyst at Websense. Carl, thanks very much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Hello, Michael.
So what brings you to InfoSec this year?
Well, we've got some great news on our stand with the Raytheon acquisition of the Websense entity. So we've got a new company, Raytheon Websense. So I've been presenting there. We've also done some discussions around the Internet of Things, hacker profiles, and really just taking in the buzz of the conference. It's really quite exciting this year in the new location.
Yeah, so you mentioned the Internet of Things there. What are some of the challenges around securing that? We've heard quite a lot over the last 2 days, so what's your perspective on that?
Okay, so the way Websense sees it is that there's three main areas to look at when we're looking at the Internet of Things. It's still very new, and we've still got a lot to learn from it, but we've kind of experienced some of the issues that we might be facing around data, storage of that data. Where are all these devices going to put the data? It's probably going to be in the cloud, and we're kind of used to storing that now and securing that. But really, IoT devices themselves, these connected devices, can be probably seen in three different ways. First one is that they could be a path into your network. So if you can use those devices, exploit them in some way to then get into other networks, that could be an issue. The other one is around the core functionality of the device. If that can be manipulated, then you might have a problem. Now, it might not be that it's terribly important that your smart water bottle is manipulated to administer a different amount of drinks for you each day, or tell you that you need to drink when you shouldn't do. But there's other situations, business applications, that it's actually very important that that device functionality is key and trusted. The third thing is around how these devices store lots of data, and it's the data that's important. So if that data is sent over unencrypted channels or stored in some fashion that's doesn't make good sense, then I think these are the three main concerns around IoT that people are still trying to get their heads around.
Okay, and obviously this means devices are become a lot more personal, and another main thing we've heard a lot about over the last 2 days is employees and customers as kind of the weak link in opening up their corporate networks or their company devices. Who do you think is responsible in the end for securing these devices? Is it an education issue, or is it people are just being more naive and careless with their data?
Okay, so it's the old people, process, technology point of view thing again. So as we've seen with bring your own device, you're holding your iPad there, and as we come into our own business, we ask our IT guys to provision access for us for those sorts of devices.
Yeah.
So maybe it'll be the same for IoT. When I come into the office with my Wi-Fi enabled coffee machine, then really it's the IT guys that are going to have the headache to try and understand that. Now, there are certain things I can do as an employee. That's okay, I might connect it to the guest Wi-Fi rather than my corporate Wi-Fi or something like that as well, but it needs to be a conversation to have so that IT teams are not surprised when the end users, the consumers, got all these cool gifts and presents next Christmas to come into the office with these new IoT devices, so they don't surprise the IT teams. You need to be having these conversations now so that you can be prepared rather than being thrown a curveball later on.
Okay, and looking into your crystal ball for the future, are there any particular trends you're noticing now that businesses should be aware of for the next kind of 12 months, 2 years sort of
Absolutely.
thing?
So IoT is definitely one of those things. There's some business applications that really our imagination is the limit, where we were seeing some really cool stuff over the last few years. We're also seeing some proof of concepts with dangers of how those can be exploited. So there needs to be a sensible sort of balance between what's cool and what we can actually enable.
Yeah.
We're also seeing that businesses are really having a challenge with the skills shortage. So now that we've got all these connected devices, some 50 billion of them, some reports say, in the next few years, how are IT teams going to cope? They already have the bring your own device issues to handle. They've always got the underlying issue of malware. We've now got targeted attacks, even at sea level. So they're still trying to organise all of their infrastructure around protecting from those threats. And then they've got new platforms to deal with as well, with less staff and too much data to look at. So they've now got a big data problem like never before, and it's very difficult to zoom in on what we call actionable intelligence. The important threat data that really matters. So yeah, lots of challenges coming up in the next year or so.
And as you mentioned earlier, it's an exciting time for Websense as well. I mean, what do you think the future holds for the company?
So with the acquisition of Websense by Raytheon, we've got a new company, Raytheon Websense, and we're going to see some really exciting synergies with those two companies. We've got some really cool platforms within the Triton APX within Websense, and then also ShoreView within Raytheon. And we're also already seeing, we're talking to those guys, and we're finding that there's a lot of good stuff that we're going to be working on over the next few months. So yes, exciting times ahead for our company, and our customers are going to be really strongly placed to have that defense-grade protection coming through to them.
Great, well thanks very much for taking the time to talk to us, Carl.
You're welcome, Michael.
I've been Michael Moore, reporting for TechWeekEurope.